Hi, my name's Jock McDonald and this is my 2002 SAS Hilux. I've pretty much been four-wheel driving my whole life. When I was a kid, my parents had a 1989 Toyota Hilux and we went everywhere in it, four-wheel driving and camping pretty much every weekend. And I guess that's pretty much where it started. Then when I was a little bit older, I travelled around the Northern Territory with my family. We hired out a Land Cruiser Troop carrier and we pretty much went all around the territory, saw everything. And I was dressed up like Steve Irwin as well. I had the khaki shirt and the khaki shorts and I was just in my element. And I remember clearly just thinking, yeah, this is me, this is my thing. So I just took off from there. So when I got a little bit older and the time came for me to buy my own car, Hilux was the only choice for me. I'd grown up in them, I'd learned to drive in a little two-wheel drive one as well, which was a lot of fun. But I knew that a four-wheel drive Hilux was the vehicle I wanted. So I started saving really hard. And once I finished school, I had a couple of little part-time jobs. And my first full-time job out of high school, I worked at a chicken abattoir. It was pretty hard yakka for an 18-year-old kid. I didn't really like it, but I just knew every cent I earned would go towards my dream Hilux that I was going to get. And I'd come home pretty demoralised, and my old man used to say, oh, the money you earned today would go towards the sump on the engine, or the money you earned today would go towards the wheel nuts. Being a young bloke, I didn't really have a lot of money, so we looked around for months and I couldn't find one. Went and saw a few and something wasn't that right. This one Hilux popped up, so my old man and I drove up to see it, and I remember turning the corner and seeing it parked in this bloke's driveway, and I just saw it straight away and I was like, that's her, that's my car. So the original plan for the vehicle was I pretty much just wanted to go camping and do a little bit of four-wheel driving. I didn't really know much about tough four-wheel driving at the time. So after I sort of got a little bit more comfortable learning how to drive, saved up and put a front locker in. I was just so keen to go out wheeling, I just put it in and went straight out to the tracks. And the difference it made, particularly with the shortcomings of an IFS vehicle, was just insane. I just felt so much more confident in the Hilux, and I already was pretty much in love with it at the time. And then once it was just actually starting to drive stuff better than what it was, I fell in love all over again. So as I mentioned, when I first started out, I didn't really know much about four-wheel drives and working on vehicles yourself, and the way I learned was just by spending hours in the shed. Not exactly a social butterfly, so I'd kind of prefer to be in the shed on a Friday, Saturday night, you know, music on, and just chip away playing with my car. And by this stage, I was lucky enough to get a job working for Four Drive Action. One of the blokes who was a mechanic at the time, he sort of took me on as his unofficial apprentice, I guess. It was sort of a great experience to be, you know, shadowing an actual professional mechanic rather than just trying to do it all myself. And I think that's where I really learned a lot for an appreciation of vehicles and stuff. And after a couple of years at Four Drive Action, I was really lucky to go on a couple of trips with the boys, a couple of DVD trips. After a little while, I got to take the Luxie on one, which was pretty exciting. Went to Coffs Harbour for the first one, and I was just in my element, being out in the bush with the boys and four-wheel driving and still learning and just feeding off them as much as I could. And by that stage, I sort of knew that the journey with the Hilux was sort of coming to, I guess, a crossroads. I just knew that I was putting it up tracks that it just shouldn't really have been doing. I really didn't want to sell it, so that was pretty much the thing that got me over the line. I thought, yeah, it's time to spend a bit of money on it and make it a little bit more of a weapon, so that's what we did. So the original plan was to just do the front solid axle swaps, and that's what we did. So my close mate Matt Kinsella from Kinsella's Customs did all the work, and he's an absolute wizard with a welder, so we got into it and we decided we were going to just go all out. Started as a basic build and got a little bit carried away, as a lot of projects do, so did the solid axle swap at the front. So it's running a 80 series front diff. It's a double triangulated 4-link rear with PSR arms, and it uses a KUN 26 Hilux rear housing, and then it's also running Nulon crawler reduction gears and a transfer case with a custom low profile cross member. All new bar work. We also realised with the 4-link that the tub and canopy was going to be a bit of a compromise, so I always thought about putting a tray on, and I thought, oh, if we're going to do it, now's the time. And that's kind of pretty much the catchphrase of the whole project was, oh, if you're going to do this, you may as well do this. And it sort of just snowballed, turned it into the vehicle it is now. It's pretty capable as it is. So up until this point, I'd pretty much done most of the work myself in the shed. So it was really important for me to be involved with the build as much as I could be, and Matt was kind enough to let me shadow him in the workshop and learn as much as I could, and because it was such a big build, it was a 7-month process, so I was there as much as I could be, you know, watching and learning. And I'd finish work, come to the shop, we'd work until late at night, and then roll our swags out on the floor next to the Hilux, sleep for a couple of hours, and then I'd go back to work. At the end of the day, this Hilux is still my first full drive, my first car, and it's my everything, so that was one of the main reasons I wanted to keep it and build it into what it is. If I could give any advice to my 18-year-old self, it would probably be to just keep doing what you're doing, learn as much as you can, as often as you can, feed off other people who know more than you, read and learn about things, and also probably put your dad's tools back when you're done with them. That's definitely an important one, trust me. Funny, a bloke asked me the other week if I'd ever sell my Hilux, and I don't think I ever could. Coming from a young bloke who didn't know much about vehicles and sort of learning and building together with the Hilux, the memories I guess we created were really important to me, and I think that's one of the reasons I don't think I'll ever get rid of it.